The first and only Scandinavian heavyweight champion of the world was Ingemar Johansson. Listen to Lars Ottoson's reflection on him.
Ingemar Johansson, born in Göteborg, and a little bit of a troublemaker there as a young boy. And he did his military service in the Navy, and that's where he was introduced to boxing. He was in a couple of brawls, and then his commanding officer thought, now we better teach this boy a little bit of boxing, and he could sort of take him off the street fights. And he became our top amateur boxer, Swedish champion, and he went to the Olympics in Helsinki, where he got disqualified for non-boxing. Coming back from Helsinki, he decided to go professional, because there was a man in Gothenburg called Edvin Ahlqvist, who was a promoter for fighters, a very honest, straightforward and good man, and he saw a lot in Ingemar, and he was the one that presented the name Thor's Hammer of Ingemar Johansson's right hand. And they made him train right, eat right, do right. And Ingemar rose to the top and became European champion. And everybody in Europe believed that this was one of the greatest fighters that time in the world. And this was, I think, 1957, 58. It was an American boxer called Eddie Mason, who was the #1 challenger. He was going to meet Floyd Patterson about the World Championships. He was just going on a little business to Europe first, training town. He was going to meet some European clot called Ingemar Johansson in Gothenburg, and then he was going to go back. And so he did. He came to Gothenburg and he climbed the ring, and it took 1 minute and 10 minutes, and Eddie Mason was on the floor. And that was, of course, not what people had reckoned with, especially not those who bought big ringside tickets and didn't even get a seat. So automatically then Ingemar came up as a challenger. Set for a fight in June 1959 and stayed up in the Catskills. He put his training camp and he became very popular. The Ingemar was going to take place. Sweden wanted to listen to it, and the Swedish state radio didn't want to send it because it was immoral. Professional fighting is immoral. Mm-hmm. So then Philips company in Sweden, which is the big equivalent to Norelco here, decided to send this fight over the Radio Luxembourg. And they needed someone to do the direct broadcast. I reckon very rapidly I was basically the only one who's ever done direct broadcast in my sports in Sweden, outside of the Swedish state radio. So I called up the head of the Swedish Philips, who happened to know, and said, I see you got me a job. He said, what job? Well, the fight. I said, why should I do that? I said, because there isn't anyone else around. That's roughly recovered. And we then formed a program. We had to have a broadcast from New York for a full week to teach the Swedes how to tune in to Radio Luxembourg, so they were really on the station at this very night. America has a habit of creating jobs. Sweden has a habit of cutting them. Or something like that. Anyway, the broadcast went very well, and I I remember I climbed the ring and no one was allowed up in the ring. Howard Cosell, he just jumped up. Everybody knew Howard Cosell, right? So he went up with the mic. And of course, no one knew me. And I came with my microphone up. So I remember Johansson, Ottosson, so I took up my passport and I put my thumb over Otto in Ottosson, and I just showed it and I said, I'm Ingmar's brother, I'm going to go. Oh, they said, Mr. Johansson. I went up with the microphone. Because otherwise I couldn't explain to them the Swedish broadcasting, etc. Sure. They want the identification of that. So I thought that was the...
Ingo Johansson scores a third-round knockout victory over Floyd Patterson to win the World Heavyweight title. Ingemar becomes the first foreign-born heavyweight champion since Primo Canera won the title a quarter of a century ago. A very happy Ingemar is congratulated by his handlers.
He is still probably the most popular figure Sweden has ever had.
Into the 1990s, they'd sign autographs, and if they couldn't do that, they always made it together, regardless of where each was living, at least one time a year. But by the mid-1990s, neither Johansson nor Patterson could visit because the damage, much of it visited by one upon the other in those three fights, the damage was such that it led to Alzheimer's-type dementia for both Johansson and Patterson. Ingemar spent about the last decade or so of his life in a Swedish nursing home. In 2009, at the age of 76, he died. Patterson, suffering from that same malady, had died 3 years earlier at the age of 71.
Unique confrontations took place a few months later, but no one realized it. Ingemar Johansson, in black trunks, training to fight Floyd Patterson, went 3 rounds with speedy young Cassius. The upstart youngster, not knowing his proper place, boxed his way around the ring as if it were he using Ingo for a sparring partner.
For Johansson, $100,000 cash to meet me in a nationally televised fight. And
he turned it down.
Yes, he said that the fight wouldn't draw free ticket holders and that I didn't have the ability to step in the same ring with him. So I said, well, if I didn't have the ability to fight him and he knew he was going to win and the fight wouldn't draw free ticket holders, well, why don't he come on over here, knock me out, and pick up that $100,000? That's the part I don't understand.